Happy Friday, superstars. Happy Friday, youth developer. Today, we're going to talk about how our mental barriers can keep us prisoner. Raise your hand if you want to be a prisoner, not I. And today, we are doing this is most our second live interview. Super excited to have Dennis Moralda. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I called him Moralda, Spanish, because I'm Latina. So why not? I thought it was. We'll find out where he comes up, where the last name comes from. And I met him from our Enlifted community, and you guys seen a whole bunch of people who have come and share a whole bunch of their story and tons of value. So I'm excited to have him. He's been a principal. He's in the youth development field, still as the founder and CEO of Building Men Podcast. So I'm calling out all the gentlemen out there, which we get majority of women in here. So let's grab our husbands, our boyfriends, whoever. The topic still relates to most of us. So I'm going to bring up Mr. Dennis Merolda. Welcome.
What's up? How's it going? Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited. So really my first question is, where's the last name from?
It's a great starting question, Patty. Appreciate it. So my last name is an interesting journey. So my last name is Moralda, Morolda. And I knew that wasn't my original last name. My grandfather came from Italy. And his last name, actually his birth name, was Nicholas Moraldo, Mora. States. He was driving a car with my grandmother, had an epileptic seizure, ran the car off the road, and they took away his driver's license. So this is in the 1940s. They told me he wasn't allowed to drive a car anymore, and he said, "Screw that." So he had some connection with the mob, and he got a new birth certificate, switched his last name from Moraldo to Moralda, so he was able to drive. So I hear this story, and so I'm telling this story my whole life. It was so amazing to me. Within the last year, I found out there was another layer to that story. Apparently, that my great-great-grandfather was a silent movie actor in Italy. And his name was Giuseppe Moraldi, Moraldi. And he got into some kind of trouble. He was doing something and he was trying to hide. And he switched his name from Moraldi to Moraldo. And now it's Moralda. So it's gone through a little bit of a journey, but it does have Italian roots from Moraldi to Moraldo to Moralda.
Okay, so you're Italian. So I recently, because I became friends with you on Facebook. So are you in Jersey?
I am. Central New Jersey, Bordentown City, just south of Trenton.
We are 23 minutes away because I googled your town, and I'm in Staten Island, New York. So we're so close to each other that I am so excited because I don't know if you know Matt Gallo. He's Italian and he's in Staten Island. He's an Enlifted coach. And so when I found out, like, we set up for coffee, and I was like, where are the rest of the Enlifted people from, the New York City area? And Kim,
the East Coast peeps.
Exactly. I wanted to get a pirate flag to put it here in our house on Mark's birthday. And Kimberly had just moved because she was in Astoria, Queens, and she had moved to Virginia. So I was like, oh, so for the next one, I definitely want to put up a flag in there, which you're rocking the Enlifted shirt. So shout out to
I just got it. I just got done with level 1 in December. I just started level 2. My first meeting was on Monday. I was actually driving up from Jersey to Providence, Rhode Island. I was doing a workshop up there for some teachers. So I was on my drive up and in the car listening to Mark on level 2, call 1.
Yes. Okay. So you do training and consulting for teachers and principals and people in the Department of Education?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was a principal for more than a decade. I started as an assistant principal in 2005, and I spent, almost 15 years in education as an administrator, 5 years before that as a sixth grade teacher. And now what I do is I started working for an organization around social emotional learning, community building, proactive behavior management, and at the time, teacher language. So I would talk to teachers about things that they're saying to the kids, that could be hurting the kids. So using sarcasm, manipulation, guilt, overpraising, verbosity, blaming students. So I was doing work in teacher language, and with Enlifted now, bringing in the language that we use when we're speaking to ourselves into that conversation. It's been such a game changer. So now what I do is I do a lot of virtual and in-person training for teachers, teaching them how to teach. What should they be doing in the classroom? Right now, what I'm doing is I'm working in a school district in Providence, and I'm up there for several days this month. Basically, I'm helping them rework everything. The community has been broken in the school, so I'm helping them rebuild. So I'll do work with individual teachers, with administrators. I do some work with kids. I do some assembly programming. It's such a passion of mine, and I do believe that the education system, we really need to take a hard look at what's going on there. And a lot of it is centered around the language that we're using.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Let's come back and talk about this. If you don't mind coming back to this,
Sure thing.
that's another conversation. Absolutely. It would be great to have like a panel of people. I work with, I have a favorite principal because we're vendors for DOE, and we're all about science for now. However, I started doing entrepreneurship for high school, for middle school first, and then high school. And it's been such a blast talking to children about, well, not children, young adults about, hey, it's not when you make mistakes or trip or fail. It's not if, I'm sorry, it's when, and how do you get up? And having the youth right now, I don't know if you're seeing, is that because of their parents living in such high stress environment. I had one 16-year-old girl tell me that her number one goal was a better lifestyle. Were you saying that at 16 years old?
It's so funny you mentioned that. Like you mentioned the Building Men podcast. And what I do is I talk about this stuff that I thought about at that age, right? The things that I believed about masculinity. My lifestyle wasn't a thing that I was thinking about. And one of the things in Building Men is what we do is we break down a lot of the things that young men thought about what it meant to be a man, which was initially it was you were a better athlete, meant you were a better man, bigger, faster, stronger, like your physical appearance, that equated to you being more of a man. Then it was I don't know if this is a show for kids or not, but it was the how many girls you were with.
Yeah.
I'll leave it like, so it was like the accumulation of sexual partners, or like trying to get the hottest girl.
Exactly.
That was synonymous with masculinity. And then it was how many zeros are in your bank account. It was the accumulation of stuff, material things. And so what I started to do as an assistant principal way back in 2005 was I recognized that this is what the boys were thinking. It's what I thought when I was going through middle and high school, and it's what a lot of young men were thinking and still do, a matter of fact. So what we started to do is break down a lot of those things that young men thought about masculinity. Let's challenge those things. Let's redefine what it means and make it more about character, integrity, relationships, what you can do to help another person breathe easier. And then there's that balance of strength and vulnerability that we have to consider as well. So it's been this cool journey with Building Men. And at first it was a boys social group in person. We'd meet once a week before school. That's how it started. I recognized all the issues I was dealing with as a principal were with the boys. It was they were coming to school late. They were not coming to school at all. They were getting in fights. They were getting tossed out of class for disrespect. And I said I needed to do something about this. I couldn't just sit back and watch it. I'm a first-year assistant principal. So I was like, let me push my chips in and we'll start a program. So we started this boys social group, and I had all the boys in the school join up. And it's funny, I still talk to these kids now. They're 30 years old, a lot of the kids from the first group. I'm 45 years old, so they're 30 years old. And I still have conversations with a lot of them. They remember the lessons that we learned. And then I taught them how to tie a tie. I taught them how to change a tire. I taught the kids how to jump a car, like use jumper cables. I wasn't allowed to do this stuff. I definitely could have gotten fired if someone found out. But it was like teaching life lessons to the kids, like practical life lessons. At the same time, we were talking about these big picture things that they should be thinking about masculinity. It was absolutely the most impactful thing I've ever done as an educator in my career.
I love it. I'm definitely sending this interview to two principals I have in mind in here. And I know that virtually is the way to go right now because, things are so like wishy-washy with right now, DOE, are we open, what's going to happen? That's such a great conversation. And obviously, yeah. So you said you were a sixth grade teacher for 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah,
is
just under 5 years. Yep. Sixth grade teacher, varsity baseball coach. That's how I started my career.
And like I said, I would love for you to come back and like get in a panel. This is a great introduction that we could do with some of the principals. So Andrew and Lou, I am talking about you guys. Imagine having you three in a panel. That would be it'll be fun first and then a great conversation because both of these principals, yeah, they're in line with what you're saying, with what we're saying. And yeah, it's the word that's coming up lately in DOE is oh my gosh, what is exactly? It's emotional wellness. I don't know if that's the exact word. But yeah, certainly mindset. It's something that we're all like, oh yeah, that's supposed to be part of a human, right? It's not just a career or a physical, but our mental, and as you and I know, like what we tell ourselves, our inner critic, and well, yeah, our self talk. That's usually what I say. So, which is awesome. And talking about the youth, I know I could spend hours. I started as a summer camp counselor at the YMCA, and I went up the ladder. And one of the things that happened to me and what the youth developer is about us, the adults, putting on, we believe in the flight attendant to put on the mask on us, tightly secure first, and then our children. So the inspiration and the mother company of the youth developer is Y Superstars, which is my company, which is to live out of our strength, right? For us to live that life to the full. Because the way I say it's like when children are seeing are having those role models, like all the men you impacted, right? Like you being your best self, and that's already more than enough for them to take this mental notes of what they want to be. So focusing on us first is yeah, I'm very passionate about that because I burned out going up the ladder at the Y, being in charge of two branches, having programs from 7 a.m. all the way to 7 p.m. Drove me to the hospital. So your topic on mental barriers and how they're keeping you prisoner is so huge for so many teachers and principals out there who are so stressed, and so I'm very grateful that you're here to talk about that. And I love to hear how obviously we want to role model how this topic became something of interest to you, and take us on your journey with that.
Sure. So I appreciate the opportunity to share my story. And so I'm in education through 2019. I left public education to start working as a consultant and a coach. I was traveling, I was doing keynote speeches around the importance of community, around the importance of social emotional learning, around the importance of proactively managing behaviors. What can you do as far as teaching productive routines and getting kids' voices into the space? I believe wholeheartedly about developmental needs of kids: autonomy, competence, fun, relationship, safety. How do you meet those 5 developmental needs in a supportive way in a community? That's what I was about when I left education. I was working with school districts up and down the East Coast, and everything was going great up until March of 2020. So almost a year ago, 2 years ago to the day, I was up in Rhode Island doing a presentation at the New England League of Middle Schools. I was doing a workshop around how do you use advisory to build this community feel within your middle school. And I was about to give us a speech, and I started to feel sick. I was, so I powered through that day, and it was just as people were starting to hear about this coronavirus thing, right? And so
Yeah.
the next morning I wake
Goodness,
up,
March.
I felt hard. Yeah, I felt horrible. So I leave. I'm driving home from Rhode Island, and I'm sweating and
Mm.
shaking at the same time. Drive to the hospital. I had 104.6 fever, and they're like, "We need to get you fluids, my man. Like you are like on the verge of death here." So I think I was like the host of the coronavirus in this area. I think I brought it here. And right after that is when the world shut down. Right? It was crazy situation. Right after that, the world shuts down, and in my personal life, I was in the middle of a divorce
Mm.
as this was going on. Had left public education, had left a good six-figure salary with a pension, everything. I just had to coast along for another couple of years, and I left. And so at this time now, the world shuts down. I'm in the middle of a divorce, and all schools are shutting down. So there was no one hiring people to come in and do workshops. So I went from making a good salary to making zero, nothing. Like I went on this entrepreneurial way, and I was left like, what do I do right now? So
Mm.
I really had a very dark, depressive several months where what is it about? I can't believe I have three kids of my own. I can't believe I did this to my family. I went through a really, really low spot. And there was a moment where I remember driving and I pull off to the side of the road. I'm crying my eyes out and I'm thinking,
Mm.
what did I do? I can't believe this is my life right now. And a song comes on the radio, and it was a song. I grew up in a blue collar family where I would go to work with my dad. He's paint apartments with him, listen to classic rock all the time. And a song came on by the Eagles, and the song was Already Gone. And I can still picture every specific part of this moment in my head. So I pull up to the side of the road. I'm listening to the song really loud, tears streaming down my face. And
Mm.
line in the song, which I'd probably heard the song 1,000 times. There was a line in the song. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even know we have the key. And I
Wow.
sat back and I thought, I needed to hear this line from this song at this exact moment in my life. For whatever reason, it came on and I heard it. I've heard that song so many times, but I never heard those words. And
Wow.
I decided if I'm going to make a difference to people's lives, I'm going to start right now. And so what I did at that moment, I joined this online boot camp. I had put on a ton of weight during quarantine. I was in a mess. I was drinking every single day. I was depressed. I was lonely. And so I went on this, started with a physical fitness journey, but it was a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual journey that I went on. And the culmination of it was I dropped like 40 pounds. I got like everything just started working in a really synergistic way. But I decided that what was it about for me? What was my purpose in life? What did my existence here? What was it going to be about? And I went all the way back to that Building Men program that I started as a principal. I said this was what it was about for me. So I decided
Mm.
I'm going to start a podcast. I always thought I was going to write a book about it. And it was something that I was like, I'll write a book someday. I'll do this one day. And I put it up on the shelf and I looked at it, admired it. And I decided I'm going to make a move on this right now. I had no idea what I was doing. I had never been on social media before until July of 2020. So I started an Instagram page and I started a podcast. No idea what I was doing. It was ready, fire, aim. I bought a microphone and I started talking about whatever was on my mind. And that slowly turned into a movement. Now I have thousands of downloads for every podcast. I have a following on Building Men, and it's become this thing
It's
where
true.
I talk to people from all over the world about stories of perseverance, about mindset, about education, about what they believe masculinity means. And it's interesting because you would think Building Men, my audience would be 100% men. I would say about 40% of my audience are women that are interested in learning, like, what the hell's going on with the men in my life? My significant other, my husband, my kid. A lot of
Yeah.
the people that I
Yeah.
coach are 17, 18-year-olds that are feeling lost in the world right now. So it's been
Yeah.
such a cool journey. And I recognize this is what I was put on this planet for, but I needed to go through that mindset shift to
Yeah.
really understand. I needed to see the darkness, like go through the darkness to get to the spot of light where I find myself in now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. 2020. What a year. And you took action. And yeah, I went to your Instagram thinking that you've been having this podcast for over 5 years. And I was like, oh, he literally got started in 2020
Yep.
and your YouTube in 2021, which I was like, oh, yeah, that's a great story that you went back to what your passion is, right? Like how it started for you with that. And you will meet with the men at the school. right? Like it was like a group in person group.
Yep.
That is awesome. Yeah. I I'm thinking about some of the programs that I've done too. And I think when we take that time to reflect, yeah, the doors open. A song also changed my perspective when I was 13 years old. I'm also 45, so high five.
Right
For
on.
yeah, 1976, December
That's
16th.
it. Right,
You
December 2nd. I'm 2 weeks older than you.
you know, I don't know about you, but the music from the 90s were about changing the world, about impacting the world. It really left like it planted a seed for me. And that song for me was This House. It was popular, it was a pop song, but um it did hit me, and I still remember. Do you remember the Walkmans, the Sony
Oh
Walkmans?
my God. Yeah. I had a bright ass yellow one. And then a
Yeah.
Discman. And I had the
Yeah.
Discman, which was like this big.
Yeah.
I
I
saw
remember.
something recently where people were like, the kids distracted today with their phones when they're driving. And you think about all the shit that we have to do. We're trying to get like the gigantic CD case,
Yeah.
find the CD out of it, like drive with their neighbors. We're drinking something and opening a map, or like they can map quest directions as we're trying to drive. Forget it if you were driving a manual transmission.
Exactly. Oh my God. You know what I used to do with MapQuest? I will print it out and put it in a binder whenever I will do road trips. Did you do that?
I was so dorky too. I would have a folder wherever I went and then highlight the journey. But listen, kids need to learn how to use maps. God forbid something
Yeah.
goes down. No one would be able to get anywhere.
Yeah.
My kids couldn't get to the damn McDonald's if they wanted to, if they didn't have their phone, like to understand how to drive somewhere without the navigation on your phone.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna write a note in that because we did a preparedness video, and Jimmy did a short video on how to read a map. But that's so true, and especially right now, to put up that video in detail. So I love that. Yeah. So okay. So you're a music guy, and I totally hear you in the CD. There's a TikTok about this guy with exactly. I don't know if you're getting it from there or just life experience. But I could totally relate. And like plus being a girl, you also drive and put makeup. So it was like it was chaotic, at least for me. Uh
Yeah.
so now I love my what is it called? The Apple CarPlay. It's
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
because I
Yes.
just press the button, it gives me directions, play this music, it takes me to Spotify.
Yep.
So we done a full circle. I would like to have you tell me the lyrics of that song, that part that caught your attention, because I would love to write it in here.
Yeah, sure. So it's the song is Already Gone by the Eagles, and
Okay.
the lyrics again are, so oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even know we have the key. And to me, it was just so impactful thinking about like the connection between like your mind and your heart and your soul, and the belief that the ability to change comes from within you, that it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be on external forces and other people validating what you're doing, and you have it inside of you. Every single one of us has that inside of us. And as I work with
Yes.
clients as well, it's just getting the first piece is unstucking themselves, like getting
Yeah.
unstuck from whatever it is. And once they do, they get that stuff out of the way, they're like, wow, this is here. Now I can start
Yeah.
doing the work. Now I can start doing the work on the next level of it. But you have to come to that realization that you have it in you. You absolutely have it. Sometimes we need someone else to carry that belief for us until we can carry it for ourselves. But it's there.
Yeah,
It is absolutely there.
certainly ask the right questions and guide us. I know I'm slowly transitioning from giving advice because I was so used to it for the YMCA, DOE, my church, and we're in our own journey. We are reconstructing uh, what we believe in, the what the Bible is all about. So we had this transition, my husband and I. So we're peeling so many things about how usually I want to give answers, and I love the fact that, questions pull, answers push. It's like it's so huge to me too. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because it is once we take that time to reflect. And I know I went off the 90s trail over there, but it is
All
about
good.
reflecting on that song that we heard for so many years, but we actually are putting an intention to listen to the lyrics that and words are powerful, right? That, and I hope I wrote it correctly here. So often time it happens that we live our life in chains without really knowing we have the key. Did I get it right?
We we never even know we have the key.
And we never. And I want to get it right.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that too about the questions. I've done a lot of work even with parents. Like I'll present at a PTO meeting about educational mindset and our mindset as a parent, language that we're using as a parent when we speak to ourselves, and then language that we use when we speak to our kids. And some of it is a detriment. And one of the biggest things that I get pushback on is the use of praise with kids. And I'll
Mm.
give you an example. When you think about praise, you're like, absolutely, we need to praise, we need to praise, we need to. And I often will ask parents and educators, what's the motivation behind the praise? So if you're constantly saying, Patty, great job. Oh, that was awesome. Way to go. You did it. Awesome job. Then whatever the thing is, the kids are just looking for the sticker, the pat on the back, the scoop of vanilla. You know, like what it's like they're looking for
The
whatever
party
the thing
Friday.
is. Yeah, it's like I'm just looking for the pat on the back and a lollipop. It's about the praise from the individual. What I say to parents is if your motivation is you want them to become reflective, you want them to become more confident, and you want them to go a step further, take away the praise a little bit, tone it down, and add in a question. So
Mhm.
if I'm saying to you, Patty, awesome job, way to go, that was awesome, tremendous, you did it, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I can say that in a really, enthusiastic way. I could also say, Patty, I noticed how you finished this assignment. Tell me what was your favorite part about the learning process here.
Yeah.
Patty, when you handed this in, what's the next thing that you want to learn about? Or what was the biggest challenge that you faced that you can take this and learn something additional in the future? Or why did you choose this color palette when you handed in this assignment? I'm still validating, I'm acknowledging, but I'm acknowledging the process. I'm not saying it's just about my saying good job, great job. So I say
Right.
to parent educators, replace with questions. And then you're making the kid go deeper into whatever it is. Now I'm like thinking about why did I choose this color palette? What was my thought process in adding this sentence at the end? And what did that make me think of? So now the learning continues. It's not the way to go, sticker on your paper, next.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where the question is the really, really important part. The question, it pulls it in and it keeps the learning going rather than having this delineated timestamp. It's over now.
And I will definitely add it's that we don't have negation acknowledge that training. We didn't grow up asking those questions. It was about
Yep.
the accomplishments, the certificate, graduation, going to college, getting a great job, going up the ladder. That's what we thought at least for me, that's what I thought accomplishments was. And it's about your small wins. What did you do today? So I will definitely add that to the parents are listening, to the teachers are listening, to adults, period. It's to retrain ourselves to that very that the questions that you propose to as children, to ask ourselves that daily, so we become reflective adults. And children are going to see it, right? Because there's usually such a gap. I'm sure you notice, right? Like I get so many parents who are shocked in middle school, like I don't know my son anymore. And it's
Right.
like it's like what was the conversations, right? Like from when they were young. So and then what are you role modeling? Recently someone say, my boy, he's like so heavy, and I don't know if he gets it from me. I'm feeling very heavy. And I said to her, I was like, I'm so sorry you're feeling this heaviness. And she was like, yeah, it's me. Yeah, I'm feeling heavy.
Right.
And I know for me personally on the mental barriers, and I don't know if my husband's watching or not, but when I take time to translate my projection, usually about my husband, and I put in oh my goodness, like there is like no escaping your self-reflection and self-evaluation, self-assessment. It's like you have a scarcity mindset. I have a scarcity mindset. And the first thing is like to defend yourself. No, I'm not. I'm diligent. I'm a steward of my
Right.
finances. And then this morning, this is literally I'm telling you and everybody being vulnerable in here. I said, wow, I expect for my finances to crash. Like I have awesome years, I have this. And that opened up the question of, well, how do I focus on having a steady income versus great coaching months here, and I have because I do contracts, so contracts don't pay us till like 3 months after things are completed at sometimes. And so it just led to a whole bunch of questions, right? Because that barrier that I put on my husband was really mine.
Right.
Yeah. So I love what you're doing. And has anybody told you thank you yet? Because I want to tell you thank you. It's so cool to listen to someone to being as passionate about really building. That's what you're doing. You are building men, like from So thank you, Dennis.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for you, and I will love to, for the rest of the time, just if someone's right now resonated or related to what you had shared earlier about, like the drinking every day and no money and being there. I know that you're doing a retreat, or I don't know if that's what you're calling it. I know it's a hero's journey. So, are you calling it a retreat?
Yeah, we're calling it's a 4-day, 3-night men's retreat. It's
Yeah.
called the Hero's Journey. It's for people that are feeling stuck and
Mm,
need that little bit of a boost in their life. And the
yeah.
first one is in Lake Tahoe, April 28th through May 1st, with the
Yes.
idea that for building men, doing one for fathers and sons, and then just for young men, like a rite of passage kind of thing. The idea is, think about this too. Um, for men, and I think one of the issues with young men, especially now, is there's not a rite of passage from being a boy to being a man.
Mm,
Where traditionally there was this societal thing back in the day, thousands of years ago. The men of the village would take the boy out into the woods, and they would, you know, take them from their mothers, and they would have to go and, hunt, and they would
mm,
chant, and they would have some ceremonial thing where they became a man, and then they came back to the village, and they were a man in society's eyes, and their group's eyes. For a girl, there was a delineated timestamp. It was like they're a
mm.
girl, and then they menstruate, and they're a woman, and
Yeah.
everybody saw them as a woman. For
Yeah.
men, for young men now, there's nothing like that. There's nothing
Mm.
to say
It's
that
like,
I believe I'm a man now. So I talk about, okay, well, what is it? Is it when you get your first job? When you get your first, you start driving? When you kiss it? Like, what is the thing now? And what
yeah.
happens is I've recognized with some of the people that I'm working with, especially the guys that are in their mid to late 20s, that are in this extended state of adolescence where they're still living at home, they're still playing video games, they're partying every weekend, and it's this very shallow, immediate gratification lifestyle that they're living because there was never that rite of passage. So what we're developing is an opportunity for young men to go through a rite of passage to say, this is the experience that you need. So we're going to lay it all out on the table. There's going to be like physical things, there's going to be emotional things, mental things, spiritual things. And we're going to have this experience and say, this is what it means in society based on our experience to be a man. And my younger brother's along with me now, my brother Anthony. He's the
Yeah.
co-host on the Building Men podcast.
Yes.
He's a physical fitness trainer, so he's 14
Yes.
years younger than me. So I
Oh
was
wow.
I was
We don't look
I got it.
45, Dennis.
Well, thank you, appreciate it. I got a lot of gray in here. A lot of gray is peeking its way through. A lot of salt in the pepper right now. So it's my brother. I got into education. I had already started in college, and I wanted to do marketing and accounting, and I don't even know what the hell else I was trying to get into back then. I thought that that's what you're supposed to do. I was going to become a businessman and make $1 million a year. And I started coaching my younger brother's t-ball team. I was 19, he was 5. So I started
Yeah.
coaching, and I was like, I love coaching. I love this. So I switched my major from business to elementary education, and I was certified in K-8 elementary education, and sociology were my two majors when I graduated from college. But I recognize like my role with my younger brother. I was his older brother. I was definitely a father figure role to him, and I'm his best friend now. So going through this, we were separated by a generation, and
Yeah.
our experiences and things that we can bring. And mine is more the language work. It's definitely more the motivational speaking kind of things. But my brother's a physical fitness trainer.
Yeah.
If you, we could share the website as well if you don't mind. But he, like
Yeah.
Anthony, he looks like Thor. He's a specimen. So he has the physical fitness, and he's my trainer. He's the one that I go like, Anthony, what should I be eating? Like, I fell off with this or that. Like, can you help me out? Yeah, that's our website right there.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
But
of course.
yeah, and on that you can find out about coaching. You can find out about our retreat, our podcast, and we release 2 episodes a week on our podcast. A lot of Enlifted peeps on the podcast. We've had, Kimberly Kesting. We've had Mark England, Adam Chin, Dave Robinson, Angelo Cisco,
Yeah.
Clint Lockoff. We've had Chase Tollison. We've you name Jeffrey Oakes. The list goes on and on. Just unbelievable people that we've connected with through Enlifted.
Yeah.
And then we interview people from all over the world as well. Training Camp for the Soul and Not Perry and Chris Marhefka have both been on. We've had some really, really inspirational, cool guests. And it's not just Enlifted guests. It's people that we find interesting that would add value as well. And
Yeah.
it's been such a cool journey. It really has. Yeah, so that's my brother there on the
There's
right.
Anthony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in your website, and let's go to you and your brother. So there's Anthony.
There's Anthony. Yeah.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Anthony. How are you?
Yeah.
So yeah, your retreat's coming up in less than a month then, right? Let me just go back in there. So what do they do if someone's interested? They will go to your website, or should they contact you for your event?
So they could send me an email either from the website. Where I do most of my stuff is on Instagram. It's building.men on Instagram.
Okay.
So you can send me a direct message there. And my email address is buildingmencoach@gmail.com. So I do individual coaching, and I just started getting into schools now with helping schools develop a Building Men program in their school. It's that real talk, and it's most of the issues that we're still dealing with. When I was up at a school in Providence in Rhode Island, they recognize there's the heavy hitters, the ones that are really struggling are the young men in the school, and giving them an opportunity to create a community, a social group, and normalize the things that they're going through, normalize the feelings that they're having, and understanding that there is strength in vulnerability. And if we could help young men recognize that, and helping young men recognize the importance of taking care of their mental health when they're 13, 14, 15 years old, that will help all of us down the road.
Yeah.
When men are able to fully experience, like understand their feelings so they don't shut things down, and you don't hear about this toxic masculinity of people, bringing out their aggression on other human beings, or, which is equally as bad, becoming so weak and passive that they're like, carrying around their wife's purse like a little puppy dog behind. We don't want that either in society. So how do we normalize, like find that middle ground of like, I am strong. I'm like strong in my convictions. I know who I am for what I believe, and I can stand up for myself. And I could be vulnerable enough to say, I need help here. This is what I'm going through. These are the emotions that I'm feeling. So how do we do that? We need to help them at a younger age get to that point. And we can absolutely do that. Yeah. So there's my Instagram, and I do the Instagram stuff. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer with the Instagram as well.
Yeah. My video camera went off, but you guys can still hear me, right?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, Dennis, what a odd ending that I wanted to have with no camera. Maybe I could find a picture of me. But we'll go back in here. I love what you're sharing. Let me remove your Instagram for a second. Everybody knows how I look like. So as you heard, Dennis is having his retreat. Make sure you contact him via his Instagram. That's where he's pretty active. And Dennis, I'd love to have you in our Tripping Forward Thursday. So, we're changing the narrative about making mistakes, right? About like how we get to move forward. And so that is something that I am looking forward to more conversations with you. Let's see if I could get myself, no, not able to get my camera. This is what happened. I was like playing around with showing your website. So, we're going to end here, Dennis. Let's see. What can you see in my screen? Just you?
It's it's a webcam utility. There's the black screen,
Oh,
and
okay.
there's me doing some push-ups or something back.
Well, you know what? It happens, people. Technology happens. I mean, we get some clips. Before coming in, I wasn't able to come in and I'm yelling at my husband. I'm like, I need help. I'm going crazy. He's like, you forgot to plug in your camera. So that's what happened. And you know what? I used to ask my husband to hold my purse. Now I know that's a terrible thing to do, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're running into the dressing room or something, but if more like the whole happy wife, happy life thing, it just like helping men understand, like you can absolutely be there and present and communicative
Yeah.
and vulnerable and still know who you are and speak in a
Yeah.
direct way and be really strong in your convictions and do things for the right reasons, not to please other people. Like I know that I believe so wholeheartedly in my mission and who I am and where I'm moving forward to. I'm not doing things to make other people happy. I'm doing things because they're the right damn thing to do. And
Yeah.
that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, absolutely. And that message goes to, to women and men, right? Like
Yeah.
really living out of our spark. That's how I know I get my time and energy back because I'm fulfilling my contribution to the new humanity, to my purpose and our purpose. And I love having guests like you who are really passionate about giving, making an impact. And Dennis, again, thank you. Thank you for coming, sharing your story. And we'll have you back again for that panel. I'm gonna get started on getting more principals and teachers. I have up to 10 people that could fit in here, so we'll do that.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, thank you again. And I will for guys, if you liked this kind of like live interview, even if my camera went off, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions for Dennis, yes, you could go ahead and go to his Instagram. You could also drop it in here to start the conversation. Let's put this video out there where it gets to men. I mean, we have a few days before this retreat, and I know retreats have made a huge impact in my life to be away, right? To be away and change that physical environment, especially if you're in the city. So if you're in New York City, you want to get away. Is that picture from Lake Tahoe? Is that picture from there or that's
It
just?
is, yeah, up on the
Oh,
website. It'll be at a spot in Lake Tahoe. It's a beautiful area.
wow. Yeah, I never been there, so that's great to know. So guys, girls, with wives and husbands and children, if you want them to be right there and you guys have a whole set of guest speakers and panels and activities that I know will be impactful. So, Dennis, thank you again. Awkward goodbye with no camera, but you know how it looked like.
Absolutely. Listen, shout out to the December 76 Sagittarius crew.
Yes, yes. I gotta get me a shirt that says 1976. We gotta get one and get like a 1976
Vintage.
club.
Absolutely. Good year. Bicentennial. Year of the dragon. Yep, that was a good year.
Awesome. All right, Dennis. Thank you again for coming, and I will talk to you soon, and hopefully back in this panel.
Absolutely. Thank you
All
again. I
right.
appreciate it. Take
Thank
care.
you. All right. Bye bye.